Welcome back to the Content Swap Podcast. You are joined by Parker and...
Sorry to burp. Aaliyah.
If you are new to the Content Swap Podcast, this is a podcast in which we assign each other content every week, and then we talk about our thoughts, feelings, and everything in between on the podcast. So before we like to dive into this week's content, or just any content, we like to provide a little life news update, things that have been going on since the last time we recorded, and it's been 2 weeks, so we got a sizable update, I am sure. So go ahead and take it away. What's up? What's new?
I actually don't have that big of an update.
What?
I just can't remember what's happened in the past 2 weeks, to be honest. Well, today I've had a stressful day and my head hurts, so I apologize if I'm not super energized. But in the past 2 weeks, so for one of those weeks, you were gone pretty much for most of the week. And so I watched the new Dallas Cowboys cheerleader show.
Oh, you watched that?
I did. I pretty much binged the whole thing.
How was it?
It was really good. I loved, the old show. The old show is very much like a competition show. You don't really get to know the girls very well.
There's an old Dallas Cowboys cheerleader show.
Oh my gosh, babe, you didn't know that?
No, I didn't know that.
I think it's literally one of the first things I wrote down on my content swap things to give you. So I might have to give it to you.
Yeah.
It was called Making the Team. And it was so you all know I was a cheerleader back in my day. And it was my dream. I wanted to try out to be a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader. I just wanted to wear the outfit. I thought the outfits were so cute. And it just looked like so much fun. Which granted, the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders aren't really cheerleaders. They're more dancers and very great technical dancers. They have all different backgrounds. People come from backgrounds in ballet and all kinds of stuff. So
was it a reality competition show?
Yeah, basically. So
and then this new show is more of a documentary?
So it's still showing the process of them selecting girls. So that's still the kind of overall premise, but they dive deeper into 5 girls basically. There's a few veterans that they really do a deep dive in, and then there's some rookies who are trying out for the first time and they're trying to get a spot, and you just learn more about them. But then you also learn about Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders as a brand. They talk about the pay that they get and how they really don't get paid a lot. They just do it because they enjoy it. So a lot of them work full-time jobs and after work go to practice.
Whoa.
And go to games and things like that. One girl was I literally from sun up to sun down, I'm just gone because I have so many responsibilities, and they have to do appearances in different places and these events and charity things. And they talked about how the pay breakdown is for that and all this stuff. And so you learn a little bit more about Dallas Cowboys as a company. Company might not be the right word because it's a sports team, but essentially company, because they have headquarters and everything. And you learn about who makes the decisions and everything like that. So it just dives deeper into the behind the scenes that the reality competition show never got into. That was just more about all right, will these people who try out be a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader by the end of the season? Or yeah. So I don't know. I really enjoyed it. It was cool. It was interesting. It was interesting to hear about once they make the team, what is it like? So yeah, there was a few episodes that were after they had already selected the team, which in the OG show, you don't really get to see that part of okay, now they're on the team. What does that look like? So really cool stuff. I highly recommend it. Other than that, I think I've just been having a stressful or I don't know, I feel life has been kind of chaotic and a lot of things have gone on in the past few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been finding myself going to comfort shows and comfort movies and things that just make me feel better. And one of those things is Hey Arnold. I've been going back to cartoons. And anytime I feel overwhelmed or anxious or whatever, I just put on Hey Arnold, and it is so nice and makes me happy. And lately I've been falling asleep to TV, which I don't usually do. I usually like it to be very quiet, But I don't know, something about throwing on a cartoon until I just fall asleep has been really nice. So yeah, so that's that. We have some things that we saw together. Do you want to dive into that now or wait until after you do yours?
Let's do that after I do mine.
All right. That's all I have. So you go ahead.
Okay. Well, yeah, I was gone for like a week, so that's why it's been 2 weeks. I was in Vegas, baby.
Living it up.
Why did I go to Vegas? I went to Vegas.
I'm just kidding.
What? I went to Vegas to get Taco Bell for the first time.
That's crazy. And you didn't get a crunch wrap, which I was like, mistake number one.
I don't know what I got. Did I get a cheesy gordita crunch? I think that's what I got.
Should have got a crunch wrap.
Well, yeah, I had Taco Bell for the first time. I was there for a bachelor party, but it was also like my first time in Vegas as an adult, which was truly an experience.
Well, not your first time as an adult, but your first time with friends.
With friends as an adult. Yeah. I had like one night with my brothers while we were like in the middle of a road trip. And we went to like the Hoover Dam the next day. So like that didn't quite count.
Yeah. First time doing Vegas.
Yeah. That like I did Vegas. Yeah. That was honestly a lot of fun, and I would gladly go back for another trip. I didn't expect to feel that way, but I do. So
yeah, it looked like fun.
Yeah. So in terms of content, because I was flying and we live in an area with a small airport, so we have to take 2 flights everywhere we go. And that just means like long travel day, and a long travel day really just means maximum switch hours. So last time we were on the podcast, I was talking about how good Super Metroid was, and then I was going to play Metroid Fusion. And well, guess what? I played Metroid Fusion. I finished it, and I gotta say, good game. Super Metroid might be better, but I'm planning on playing through just all the Metroids, and I'm going to do a little ranking the Metroids post. So look forward to that. Let's see. On my way back at the airport in Vegas, I went into like the Hudson newsstand because I was looking for chapstick because God, I really needed chapstick. We live in a very humid area, and Vegas is very dry, so my lips were dying for all of the days that I was there, and I like finally got some chapstick like at the airport. And while I was at the Hudson News, I saw this book being promoted quite heavily called Eruption by Michael Crichton and James Patterson, which Michael Crichton wrote Jurassic Park, he wrote Twister, and some other stuff. So I was like, I'm kind of curious about this. And I've never really read a James Patterson book, but I know he's kind of just written like 12,000 books. So yeah, I decided to take a chance on the book, and I bought it, and I read it I read it a bunch on my first flight, even though I was like exhausted. And it's like 400 pages, and I'm currently like 280 pages into it, and I'm pretty into it. It's a pretty good book. It's kind of like Twister in a lot of ways, but specifically about volcanoes, and I enjoyed that quite a bit. So, yeah, go check that out. Pretty decent book. It's not like perfect, but it's pretty good. It's the good parts are good. Aside from that, on the more video games front, just quick update on Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. I'm almost done with it. I just finished the Moon chapter, and now I'm going to be opening up the Thousand Year Door, which is a big deal. And then I finally finished Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth yesterday morning. After 70 hours of playing that game, I'm finally done. And I'm so happy to be done. And I posted my review for it this morning. But when I like sat down early this morning to write the review, and I was reviewing over all these notes that I had written over the course of months, and I was really just reflecting on every aspect of that game. And it kind of really made me realize how good the game actually was. I I don't think I appreciated enough the diversity of experience that you can have from just one digital product, and that I think is a marvel in and of itself. It seems like so expensive to me how much stuff they packed into that game, and I just really came to appreciate it in a way that just really like it's like I wrote in my review that it's kind of like the quintessential video game where if somebody told me like you can only play one game for the rest of your life, I'd probably pick that game because there's just so much to do in it that is like it's ridiculous. It's like it feels like 5 games in one game. So like yeah, there's the main story, but then there's just so much other side stuff to do that you could spend hours doing. So yeah, that wow, such a good game. Also happy to be done because I would like to move on to something else, and I'm not sure I could ever play something that long again, except for when Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3 comes out. That'll probably, and then whenever a new Zelda game comes out. There's some small exceptions, but yeah, I don't know if I'll play another Like a Dragon game ever again. Maybe during retirement. I don't know. Anyway, aside from that, I went and saw a movie called Long Legs that I didn't like very much. What?
Sorry, I just thought of another thing that I saw.
Oh, okay. Inside Out 2?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I saw Long Legs, and people were really talking up this movie, and there's been a lot of positive buzz. And I went and watched it, and I just didn't like it. I didn't think it was very good.
It's funny. My friend
fake deep.
My friend Wesley texted me because he follows your content review guide, and he was like, your man posted a controversial like review for Long Legs. I was like, I don't know, I didn't see it, so I cannot
Did
verify.
He see it?
I guess so. He told me it was creepy.
I mean, yeah. It was creepy, but creepy does not make good.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I feel like a lot of people that I follow on Instagram, they post and they're like, oh, it's so creepy, and I feel like that's what they like about it.
Yeah, it just felt fake deep to me. I don't know. Like creepy's cool. I like creepy things. I enjoy feeling creeped out. And there were definitely parts of that movie that were like, ooh. But like at the end of the day, I expected like the story to make sense or like hold up. I feel like I have a high bar for enjoying horror, anything, and like it can't just rest on its laurels of like being creepy. That's just not enough to cut
fair.
it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Aside from that, now we can get to some of the shared stuff.
Wait, let me briefly talk about Inside Out 2.
Yeah. How was that?
I forgot. I went and saw Inside Out 2. This was while you were gone as well. And I liked it. The first one is like okay, and it wasn't great. I couldn't tell you what happened. It wasn't fantastic, but I didn't mind it. But I really like this one, and I think it does a really great job of like talking about anxiety and like visually depicting anxiety, which I think is so interesting because it's like, how do you visualize that? Like when something happens like a panic attack, like how do you make the emotion like visualize that? And I thought they did a great job. So yeah, should you go pay for it to see it? If you don't really care, then don't. Just wait for it to come on like Disney Plus.
That's what I'm gonna do.
But otherwise, like, it was pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, well, we have gone and seen 3 movies in a theater, starting with Maxine Manx. I will not accept a life I do not deserve.
I'm a star.
I'm a movie star. I'm a effing movie star. Okay, so what did you think of Maxine?
I enjoyed it, but I do think I like Pearl and X better.
That's fair.
Yeah, this was probably my least favorite of the trilogy. But I mean, if this is the end of it, I thought it was a good ending. Like, I thought it was a good kind of wrap up. Yeah. And it was very like the because it's like set in like what, the 80s, and like it's very 80s, and I love that about it. It had a really great aesthetic.
Yeah, I for me it was just like there's kind of like a reveal in the final act, and that really didn't work for me and really kind of like detracted my enjoyment of the movie. But I mean, altogether as a package, still a good watch. I would definitely say, like, if you're interested, yeah, go watch it.
Yeah, it's very predictable. It's not as, I feel like, creepy, eerie as the other two.
Yeah, maybe not so like different like the other two were.
Yeah, it's just kind of like a fun little movie. And so I mean, I definitely still recommend it, but not as great as X and Pearl.
Okay. Excuse me. Next up, we went and saw Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind.
Yep.
A 1980s Studio Ghibli Miyazaki film.
Yep, and this was both of our first times seeing Nausicaa.
And Princess Mononoke is like my favorite movie of all time. Mm-hmm. And this is like pre-Princess Mononoke, but like kind of considered like a Studio Ghibli epic.
Yeah. I thought it was good. I liked the message behind it. Like I thought it had a really, really great message. At times I was getting a little sleepy.
I will admit I kind of got a little sleepy at certain parts too.
Yeah.
It was, so that movie was like famously released in the West in like an hour and a half long version called like The Wind Warrior or something. Mm-hmm. And Miyazaki was like really bitter about it. So he kind of like swore like every time I release a movie in the West from now on, it's got to be the full movie or bust. Mm-hmm. But like, which like, yeah, respect the creator's vision, but also
I felt kind of long.
I kind of get why they would want to cut it down. It was kind of long.
It was.
It's 2 hours, but it's like it felt long.
Yeah, and it's like a very like serious movie, and like very, because the message is so important, and so there's not a lot of levity to it, compared to like some of his other stuff like Totoro or like Kiki's Delivery Service or things like that, where there's like a very like playful aspect to it. It's kind of like, I mean, I feel the same way about Princess Mononoke, which I know is your favorite of all time, but like,
no, that is a long movie.
It is. It's long, and it's like a very serious and kind of heavy movie. And so like I really have to be well rested before I watch it, or else I won't make it through it.
I think that's fair. I don't know what it is that makes these two things different for me. Mm-hmm. Because I totally agree. Like Princess Mononoke is kind of like serious and long, mm-hmm. but for some reason like that is what I like about it. Yeah. I think there's just more visually
to look at with Princess Mononoke.
I agree.
Than this movie.
Yeah, this has like much plainer environments. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's like the whole toxic jungle thing, which is like very vibrant, mm-hmm. but like it's not like that all the time. Whereas Princess Mononoke is like every frame all the time. Yeah. It's just a lot.
It's Princess Mononoke is a beautiful movie, and not to say that Nausicaa isn't. Nausicaa's also a beautiful movie, especially for it like being like one of the. Is it the first? I don't think it's the first, but it's like one of the first movies that.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely one of his earlier career films.
Yeah,
not the first.
No, but for its age, like still phenomenally animated.
This is a pre-Akira film, so. Yeah. I was like, wow, there's a lot of colors on screen for this being before Akira.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think there are distinctions between this and Princess Mononoke, but in terms of like what you'll experience watching it, they're kind of the same.
Yeah, I do feel like maybe they learned some lessons from the production of this movie and applied those to Princess Mononoke in a way. But there's a lot of parallels between the two movies for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think I feel like Miyazaki in general has themes that he likes to portray in movies, and usually they all have some form of another of those. There's like war, there's like aviation things, there's like connecting with nature and like preserving nature, and like, yeah, I think that's kind of
Boy and the Heron, he said, let's just put all of it in.
But that kind of makes Well, like Boy in the Heron, the more I think about it and like
It is a
reflect on
good
it, I'm
movie.
like, it's interesting.
It's very interesting.
It's very, and you're like, what is going on? And
I
it's
know.
kind of creepy and like,
I would like to
yeah.
rewatch it.
Yeah, I'm like, I actually really enjoyed it. Even though it was so abstract and so ambiguous, I did enjoy it.
Totally.
Yeah.
All right. Well, last up, last night we watched Twister in a movie theater.
Yes.
Not Twisters. Twister.
The first one. Your first time.
My first time seeing it.
Stoked. I've been so excited about watching the first Twister. I love the first Twister. It is like I used to watch it so often with like my mom at home because it would come on TV all the freaking time. I would watch it every single time. I just thought it was such a good movie. And you told me you had never seen it, and I was like, are you freaking serious?
I know.
Like, you've lived 30 years of life and never seen Twister?
I've seen like the opening scene. I've seen like parts because my mom watched it a lot when I was growing up, but I never like sat down and paid attention to it.
Yeah.
Because I wanted like Power Rangers. I don't care about like tornadoes,
It's so good. They're chasing tornadoes.
Yeah, well, that's very adult stuff,
No, my little young self was like, oh my gosh, the tornado.
Well, I get it now because the movie is phenomenal. I like that is a fun movie. Like that is the definition of what I like to see in a movie.
And it's crazy because you're like, how, like, you would think you would get bored of the tornadoes because it's like, it's a tornado. Every single tornado that they chased was different. It would turn into 3. It would be a big, like, giant, like, black tornado that was an F5. It was like all kinds of stuff. It would come, it would disappear, and then it would come back and be on top of that. Like, it's just every single one. It's tornadoes the whole time.
Yeah, I mean,
and it's great.
The CGI holds up pretty well.
Oh, yeah.
In most spots. There are some spots where it's like,
but for it to be made in 90 or released in 96.
Oh yeah.
That movie's great.
Like that, yes. And I think what I most appreciated about the movie was that it was just like one continuous sequence of events.
Yeah.
Like there was no jumping around. There was no like jumping from one location to the next. There was no change of perspective. It was just like, here are these people and here's the journey that they're on, and you follow every step of it. And I can really appreciate something that does that.
Yep. We love it.
All right.
We do it for the science, not the money. It's like, that's Jonah. He's in it for the money, not the science.
Yeah. He's in it for the money, not the science. Yeah. Excellent.
Or it's Jonas, not Jonah.
Jonas. Yeah.
So funny.
Well, with all that being said, let's dive into the content. We've got 2 things to get through here. So let's give it a shot. I believe you are up first with the movie that I assigned.
All right. I was assigned.
This is going to be a fun conversation. I can already tell.
I was assigned Big Trouble in Little China, which came out in 1986, by John Carpenter, directed by John Carpenter, written and directed by John Carpenter.
He might have been on the writing team. Let me check. I can tell you he did do the score. He did not write it. No.
Got you. Okay. Well, directed by John Carpenter.
Directed by John Carpenter.
So, in this movie, Kurt Russell and his friend Wang, played by Dennis Dunn, are headed to the airport so that Wang can pick up his future wife. At the airport, a group of sketchy men try to kidnap this other girl, but Kim Cattrall, yes, Samantha from Sex and the City, is at the airport and saves this girl. And so, because she ends up saving this girl, these sketchy men are like, all right, we're going to grab another girl. And guess who they grab? Wang's green-eyed honey. And
green-eyed honey.
And the green eyes is important.
I can hear you reading this right now.
Oh, yeah. The green eyes is important, so please remember that for later. So Kurt and Wang decide to follow them to Chinatown. And by the way, this movie is set in San Francisco. And when they get there, there's this like big fight between 2 groups of dudes. But these like three kind of godlike figures pop up out of nowhere.
The three storms.
Yeah, the three storms. And they basically like scare both of the groups off and scare off kind of Kurt and Wang. And so Kurt and Wang freak out, they leave, and Kurt's truck ends up getting stolen, which he's upset about. And he's like, I want my truck back. So Kurt,
I mean Jack Burton?
I know, I'm just calling him Kurt because it's easier.
Whatever.
So Kurt and Wang end up like reconvening. They meet up with Kim Cattrall, who just like pops up in these, like pops up wherever they need her to pop up, basically. It's so weird why she's just around. And it's not really explained. But anyways, she's around. They're all talking or whatever. And they decide to go. They think that his girlfriend, Wang's fiance, his green-eyed honey, is at this like brothel. So they're like, we need to like infiltrate the brothel and get her. So they make the plan to do that. And my memory is very hazy on this movie. I think they go to the brothel and she's there, but then the storm dudes show up and kidnap her and take her away. And so...
Yep, that's exactly what happens.
Yeah, and so we learn that these three storms are basically like the henchmen to this guy named Lopan.
David Lopan, yeah.
David Lopan. And apparently Lopan is this like super old, crusty dude who's cursed.
Damn.
And like...
Not crusty.
Yeah, he's so crusty. The super crusty old dude who's cursed. And he needs to marry a green-eyed woman to like appease the gods and have them take away the curse.
So that he can be mortal again.
Right. And so I'm just going to like cut this synopsis short. At this point, basically, Kurt and the gang decide to get this green-eyed honey back to Wang, like take her away from Lopan, and it leads to like this whole big thing, this whole big journey of them like fighting people.
A lot of it's like underground.
Yeah, there's like some monsters that pop up, like actual like weird looking monsters, creatures that pop up, and they gotta like fight them and stuff, and it's just a chaotic mess. But at the end of the day, they end up succeeding. At some point, Kim Cattrall gets kidnapped too, and then Lopan's like, I'm gonna marry them both. They both got green eyes.
Yeah.
And so
that happens.
Yeah, it's just a mess. But it all resolves itself. Except at the very end, there's like a little like dun dun dun, because a little monster pops up and it's like, meh. So that's the movie.
I mean, perfectly summarized.
So yeah, my thoughts, this movie was just a lot. It was a lot of junk thrown together, slapped together.
It is.
And I like, considering it's a John Carpenter movie, I'm so disappointed in him. Because like it feels like he just decided, okay, what are all these different things I like? I like martial arts.
Okay.
I like...
Keep in mind, he didn't write the movie.
Okay, sure. Maybe not. But like, what did he see in it?
The studio gave him this movie.
Okay, but why? Why did he decide, yes, I should take this on? Because it's just like a chaotic mess. It's so incoherent. Nothing makes sense. The whole time I was like, how did we get here? What are they doing? Like, why are they doing this? Why is that creature here? Like, why? And like, none of it's explained.
Okay, this might be a hot take, but that's kind of what I enjoy about it.
I mean, I can see why someone would enjoy how chaotic of a mess like it is. I can see why that might be fun for some people, but for me, I was like, I don't find this enjoyable.
Yeah, it really just kind of felt like they just threw everything into it, and yeah, I don't know what it is. There's something about that makes it really charming for me. Mm-hmm. There's just a lot in it, and it's so choreographed, but also like such a mess, but also so on purpose, while also being a mess. It's like purposefully a mess.
I like was forgetting the movie as I was watching the movie.
Yeah.
Like as soon as the movie ended, I was like, I could not, if you asked me, okay, what did we just watch? I could not have told you a single thing. And like my summary I created, yes, I read it directly from my phone because I like could not remember a single thing that happened.
And that's okay. Like, I don't know why, because usually I wouldn't be into that kind of thing, but it's something about it's such a turn your brain off. Like you were critiquing all of these things when we turned it on. You're like, why is that happening? Why is that happening? I was like, babe, stop thinking and just start watching.
But I feel like it's such a mess that you can't turn off your brain is working on overload to make sense of it.
Well, see, I stopped trying to make sense of it and I instead started having fun.
I don't think I could. It was just like, I'm just like, what am I seeing? Like perceiving things.
Yeah.
It was like overstimulating.
I don't know what it was, like at the end, and there's like a final climactic battle, and I was chuckling with excitement watching it because I was just like, woo, now that's happening, woo.
And it went on forever.
And I just got a huge kick out of it. I don't know what it is.
I don't know.
Well,
that's all my thoughts.
Those are all your thoughts?
Yeah. I couldn't remember a single piece of it to have any more thoughts.
Do you have any like questions or statements or like
when I tell
criticisms?
I don't remember a single scene. I literally, I can't ask a question. I don't have criticisms because I don't know what I saw. It's like it's just like blank. I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know what that was.
Who is your favorite character?
None of them.
All right. Okay, well, I guess let's just move on and read my facts then. So, here are some facts. This movie had a budget of $25 million. How much do you think it grossed at the box office?
15.
11.
I was like, ain't no way it made a profit.
Yeah, 11 million. So, yeah, Kurt Russell was kind of nervous about being in the movie because he had actually been, like, every movie he had been releasing up until then had been a flop. And he was like,
dang.
I don't know, John, I don't know if I want to be in the movie. It might flop. And John Carpenter was like, I don't care. I just want to make this movie with you.
Is this pre The Thing?
No.
The Thing was a flop? You might have said that when you assigned it, but I don't remember.
The Thing might have been a flop. So the thing about John Carpenter's career is that his movies had huge success on home video. So like The Thing, yeah, I think I remember The Thing was like a huge home video success.
Mm-hmm. Even Halloween?
Well, I mean, Halloween was definitely a home video success, but I think Halloween might have done well at the box office, but Kurt Russell was not in Halloween.
Yeah.
So yeah, Kurt Russell he had been in too many bombs, but like they did, like, it did become, this movie in particular definitely became like a cult classic. They said that the test screening that they did was overwhelmingly positive, so they were like, sweet,
lied.
Right, they're like, sweet, it's gonna be a hit. But then what happened was 20th Century Fox didn't promote the movie very much, and that's why it ended up being a bomb.
That is not why.
It also released 2 weeks before Aliens, like the sequel Aliens.
Yeah.
Which is a James Cameron movie. So
none of those are reasons why this flopped. Like, sure, they may have added to it, but like, you could have promoted the heck out of this movie. You cannot tell me it still would have done well.
Well, see that, okay, so it did end up doing well through home video, like I said. But John Carpenter and Kurt Russell both said that the reason the studio didn't promote the movie that much was because they just didn't know how to promote it, which is fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Kurt Russell was like, yeah, this is going to be a difficult picture to sell. It's just got a lot of stuff in it, some of which might be considered bizarre. And, yeah. So, I hear you.
Yeah, it just kept getting wilder and wilder.
So, as for... Let's see here. So, the three storms are... probably my favorite characters in this movie. I just think they're like super epic and awesome. But I will say this is not the most unproblematic movie.
Not in the slightest.
Not in the slightest. And we'll get into that. I have like a whole section in my notes to get into that specifically. But the three storms, I'll just get through my facts first. The three storms were considered inspiration for Raiden from the Mortal Kombat games. So there's that. Jackie Chan was actually John Carpenter's first choice to play Wang.
Is Mortal Kombat just like a bunch of John Carpenter movie characters?
No? What are you talking about?
Isn't Snake Plissken Mortal Kombat?
No.
What's Snake Plissken?
Okay. You're thinking of Metal Gear Solid.
Oh, yeah. I get them mixed up every time.
Oh, my God. Okay. Metal Gear Solid is Solid Snake, and he's inspired by Snake Plissken. He's not actually Snake Plissken.
He might as well be.
Okay. Mortal Kombat is a fighting game series, and it was made in America. By a non-Asian man, but there are lots of Asian characters in it. But for some reason, we just are cool with that because it's Mortal Kombat. Anyway, we'll get into that theme in a second. Jackie Chan was John Carpenter's first choice to play Wang, but Chan said nah, and
well done.
And then Dennis Dunn was cast instead.
I was like, his face is so familiar. What is he in? And then he was in that freaking kangaroo movie that you made me watch that I also hated.
I know.
I was like,
oh, it's the chef friend from Warriors of Virtue. Don't you recognize him?
Like, that's all I needed to know about this movie.
Wild that he went from like starring in a John Carpenter movie to like 10 years later he's like some side character in a kangaroo movie.
I mean, the connection seems appropriate to me.
All right, so John Carpenter. So like I feel like part of the reason why John Carpenter was interested in this movie was because like it was an opportunity for there to be an inverse of scenario, because like typically when you had like a Caucasian white leading man with a sidekick who was played by an Asian man, that, you know, usually it was like all about making like the white dude look awesome and all of that. And but he kind of saw this as an opportunity to be like, okay, like, you know, Jack Burton, Kurt Russell's character, he's an idiot. He's like not even the actual main character of the movie. The main character
of the movie,
forgettable.
The
main character of the movie is actually like Wang Chi's character. Because
he does a bunch of backflips.
He does. He's super he's super competent. He's highly skilled at martial arts. He can do all kinds of stunts, and he like gets into the fights with the three storms and all of that. And like Kurt Russell's character, they go into the final fight and he's like, yeah, and he shoots his gun at the ceiling, and like part of the ceiling like rock breaks off and like smacks him in the head and he passes out at the beginning of the fight. And it's it's to make his character like look stupid, because his character is stupid, and it's like not to glorify his character as like this white man in a very like Chinese scenario that this movie is. That being said, Dennis Dunn said that he had actually trained as a kid doing Chinese opera. Or sorry, he dabbled in martial arts as a kid, and he did Chinese opera as an adult. So he actually had a pretty easy time with the choreography and everything in this movie. And
wait, what does the opera have to do with the choreography?
Well, Chinese opera is like, think of like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, like wuxia films, a lot of like wire work. Things like that.
I thought you meant like opera singing.
Well, Chinese opera is different than like Italian opera.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, there is like singing, I think, in Chinese opera, but like opera does not just inherently mean like,
yeah.
You know. So, how was my opera? Was that pretty good?
No. Got you. That's cool.
Yeah. So, Dennis Dunn was he said that he was drawn to this movie because of its portrayal of Asian characters. He said, I'm seeing Chinese actors getting to do stuff that American movies usually don't let them do, and I've never seen this type of role for an Asian man in an American film before. So he was like stoked on the experience.
Yeah.
And Kurt Russell actually turned down the role, the leading role in Highlander, to be in this movie.
I don't know what Highlander is.
There could only be one. I've never actually seen Highlander. I just know that that's a thing. I want to say culturally, Highlander maybe penetrated the zeitgeist a little bit better than this movie did, but I mean, I don't know how well this movie did either. But John Carpenter worked with a martial arts choreographer named James Liu, and they planned every scene in detail. And he said, we used everything. We used trampolines, wires, reverse movements, upside down sets. It was like photographing a dance. So, and James Hong, who is like a pretty well-known Asian American actor. Look him up. I don't know if, well, I think he's Asian American, but he's like 95 now, but he's still kicking. He's still alive. Look him up because you've definitely seen him in things. He's in a lot, and he's got a very recognizable voice. He's also done a lot of voice acting work. So he plays David Lopan in this movie, and there's like that climactic battle scene takes place in this room that has like this escalator coming down from the corner, and it's pretty epic actually. But James Hong said that the escalator that he was riding down was actually super narrow, which made it super dangerous because he was on like 12-inch lifts with this like big garb dress on, and he wanted the stunt guy to do it. But John Carpenter was like, nope, we do not have time. So even though when you watch the movie, he said, like, I look fierce, I'm actually trembling. Like, poor man.
It's so funny. We were watching it, and I was like, is that the man in Mulan? Like, his voice.
It is
and
the
you
man
were like,
from Mulan. Yeah.
And I have no clue what that guy's character's name is in Mulan.
Yeah.
But I love the character because he's just, like, the worst.
All right, and then final like fact from IMDb trivia, and then I'll get into this kind of like bigger discussion. This is the fourth of 5 movies that John Carpenter and Kurt Russell did together. So they did a movie called Elvis in 1979. Didn't know that existed. Then they did Escape from New York in 1981, The Thing in 1982, and then Escape from LA was made in 1996. So this movie came out in 1986 and was the fourth of 5.
Wow.
Yep. Okay, so let's get into the big elephant in the room discussion. Is this movie controversial? Is it filled with Chinese stereotypes? Is it problematic? Does it hold up in the year 2024 in how it depicts Chinese people?
I'm like, did it hold up in the 80s?
The answer is no, it did not. So I did some digging into this because you asked me while we were watching the movie, you were like, how do Chinese people feel about this movie? And I was, when I introduced the movie last episode, I was like, not as controversial as you think when you look at it on the surface. And I was just, when I said that, I was just thinking about like, hey, like this is an American production with like a predominantly Asian cast, which like just did not exist in American productions. And Dennis Dunn himself was like, this is great. And it seems like, everybody that was on the cast and like was involved with the picture was just like happy to be there. So like, I do think that this is an important like artifact of like Asian American representation in Hollywood feature films. Like this was a very like this was like a big deal at the time. That being said, there were definitely groups of people when it came out that were not happy about the prevalence of Chinese stereotypes, which is totally, I think, justified, because when you watch the movie, you're like, whew, not good. But at the same time, it's like still a fun movie to watch. Like, so okay, we'll get into some of like the issues that people had, and I'll kind of get into some of like my thoughts on it. So I pulled up an article from the LA Times called Asians Divided Over Big Trouble by Sharon Ching. It was published on July 11th, 1986. So I just kind of pulled out, like, I copied and pasted some excerpts, so I might be reading like word for word what the article said at certain points here. So it said Chinese for Affirmative Action, which is a group, and other members of Asian media groups said that it was unlikely that a white man would come into an Asian community to save the day. And they also said that the movie was racist and would encourage anti-Asian prejudices among young moviegoers, which I think is like probably true. Then 20th Century Fox's response was that every Hollywood film has stereotypes, and any reasonable viewer can tell that the movie is merely fantasy. And some and the article just said, and this is just word for word, it just said, and some Asians familiar with the issue concur. That's all the sentence said.
What a terrible response from 20th Century Fox.
Yeah.
That's like the worst thing you could say.
Yeah. It seemed to be a lot of the response from 20th Century Fox seemed to be coming from this guy. His last name is Kwan. I don't think I wrote down his first name. And he said, like, yeah, I think you have stereotypes in all films. The movie's not meant to be a social documentary about Chinese civilization. And I didn't copy paste this part, but there was also like a whole thing about like the studio kind of like put on this like benefit for charity to different like organizations to like donate a van that was going to like help some community groups in San Francisco. And it kind of seemed like they did that to kind of try and soften the blow of like, like a good faith, like, hey, please don't get mad at us for this movie potentially having terrible stereotypes. And the studio, especially in 1986, they're not going to say like, hey, yeah, you're right. They're going to try and market and sell a movie. So yeah, not great. There's more. I got more from the same article. It said, while many who went to the screening said they enjoyed the movie, some Asian organizations believed the film contains ethnic stereotypes that would offend many Asian Americans. We have a quote here from Henry Durr, executive director of San Francisco's Chinese for Affirmative Action group. He said, the main character is white. That's one thing we have to remember. It's a white script written for a white audience. The movie is still a white man's product. But then
I like that. Because I feel like it's important to remember the audience. Like, who is the audience?
Right.
Anytime you make anything, who is it for? Like, it probably is for white people to watch. And so, like, what are they going to take away from it, Yep.
See, like, my issue well, I don't really have an issue. Let me say this one last, or not last, but like this other piece of from the article. One of the actors that played one of the three storms, his name is Peter Kwong. Mm-hmm. He said, the movie can't be taken seriously. It's tongue in cheek. And which is true, like it is a very tongue-in-cheek movie. Like when we were watching the movie, I was like, "Babe, it's like one of the reviews I read on IMDb said that like this is a B movie on purpose," and I fully agree with that. Mm-hmm. Like it is a silly movie, but yeah, like I definitely agree with you. Like this was made for a white audience. Granted, it's like I'm an educated guy. I can watch this and be like, "This is not what Chinese people are like, and this is not representative or indicative in any way, shape, or form of like just what being a Chinese person is like." But I can also still watch the movie and be like, "This is fun," and that's where my like cognitive dissonance lies. But I also I don't feel embarrassed about saying or ashamed to say that I enjoy the movie. And I do think that it's worth like revisiting for discussions like this of like, is this harmful? It's something worth studying. And I don't feel bad for saying I enjoyed the movie, because I can also say in the same breath that I know that it's problematic, and I know what parts make it problematic, and I agree that for like impressionable young viewers, it's going to have a negative impact, and I don't like that. But as an educated person, I'm like, there are just parts that are inherently fun.
Yeah. It just sucks that like you mentioned, like it has like a large Asian cast, and like they were really excited to do the movie, and it's like, well, this also probably was their only option, like to get into acting, which that sucks. Like, so yeah, they might have been excited to be in the movie, but like at the same time, maybe they wanted other roles that just didn't exist for them. So
I mean, the ideal version of the history would be, hey, we're making this movie that's based on like Chinese culture, and they hired like an entire Chinese cast and crew that can tell their own story. That would be the ideal. We don't live in that ideal, because that's just this is America.
Lord have mercy.
And so it's like, given all of like the white supremacy, so to speak, of like the entertainment industry for years and years and years, we are getting better. This movie is it's like a necessary evil of like being a step in the right direction.
Well, it's cool you said that article was written in the 80s when it came out. That's pretty cool. That's cool to like read an article like that and see the discourse at the time.
You're right. I was like, wow, this is on the internet for me to read. Last bit from the article might be just a good thing to end up. Well, I don't know if it's a good thing to end on. But, no, it's just like this guy, Pat Lee, he's a board member of the Association of Asian Pacific American Artists. He said that the script had every old Chinese stereotype that you could dredge up: hatchet men, tong wars, prostitutes, a madam, dragons, incense, hidden alleyways, and dungeons. And he said, when I grew up, the white kids used to think that of Chinatown, but it's all just a figment of the white man's imagination.
Dang.
So
crazy.
Yeah. Like I said, I can. Yeah, unfortunately, it's like this movie was made. It really does feel, as a white person who can sit and watch this movie and enjoy it and understand what's wrong with it. I fully agree with this guy's quote. Like, and that is a problem. Now I guess I feel a little ashamed, but at the same time, it's like, it is a fun movie.
I don't even get the fun. But that's just me. I'm like, was it worth it? No.
Part of why I picked this movie was because of just all of this. Like I knew, I had seen the movie once like 10 years ago, and I really enjoyed it. And it's always just kind of, since we've been doing this podcast, it sat in the back of my head of like, that was a weird movie, and it might be super problematic, but I think that would make it an interesting thing to talk about. Yeah. So that's why I picked it.
Yeah.
And I'm glad now we can kind of like, we did our homework a little bit to kind of, because it's like I had to pull up this article just of my own accord to be like, hey, might this movie have pissed people off? It wasn't just like on IMDb like, this movie pissed a lot of people off. No, like, you know, it wasn't, it's nowhere to be found. You go check the reviews and they're like, it's a classic. You'd have to like go find a YouTube video or like search up an article yourself. And I opted to read an article rather than watch a YouTube video. So, anyway. And it's a John Carpenter movie, which is interesting. It's like that one John Carpenter, Kurt Russell team up movie. I feel like
it really changed my perception of him.
Of John Carpenter?
Yeah. And that was disappointing to me.
Again, the studio gave him this movie.
But he has to accept it. He's not forced to do it.
I mean...
and like to watch The Thing, and I was so into that. I was like, yes, that was great. Oh my gosh, the thing is, John Carpenter, he's fantastic.
Other than Halloween, I think The Thing is his best movie.
I mean, I love Halloween, but yeah, The Thing, I was like mind blown. That was a fantastic. I loved their use of like the practical effects. I loved it all. And then you hit me with this one, and I'm like, man.
I was afraid that was gonna happen.
I'm like, he sucks.
No. Leave the man alone. I'm happy with just labeling this a product of the time.
Yeah. I just...
Yeah, and I think in the DVD commentary with him and Kurt Russell, like John Carpenter he pointed out like, a lot of like Asian groups were like pretty upset about a white man making this, and Kurt Russell was like, well, yeah, like Chinese people don't like glow light out of their mouths and eyes, so and that's what we put in the movie, so like, yeah, they should be upset, probably.
Did they not think of that when they were making it?
It's a studio product. I do not blame John Carpenter. I blame the studio.
Yeah, I mean,
they had three white guys write this movie.
John Carpenter has to also take responsibility because he didn't have to take it on. And so, like, you know, if I'm given a script and they're like, we want to make this movie, I get to decide, do I want to attach myself to it or do I not?
Well, they're going to make the movie either way.
All right. I don't want my name attached to it.
I think he was off. It was like this or something else. And the other thing was just like boring. And I sound like I'm apologizing for him, but like it sounded like he, you know, saw this and said like, okay, well, you know, here's an opportunity to, you know, flip the script on its head and say the white guy is a total idiot and like make the Asian character like the true main character of the movie. Yeah, granted, that's like the best thing this movie has going for it's that and like the predominantly Asian cast, like those are the best things going for this movie in regards to that topic. But yeah, there's everything else is like whoa, like yikes.
Yeah. I mean, like my parents used to say to me when I was in trouble, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed.
That's fair. That's honestly just so much worse to hear, but yeah. As long as you're not disappointed in me for picking the movie.
No, it's fine.
All right, well, let's move on.
Cool.
Oh, it's my turn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't write any notes. I was assigned a movie called Sing. It is an Illumination film. It was released in 2016. It stars Matthew McConaughey, Reese Witherspoon, Scarlett Johansson, and a whole bunch of other people. And Matthew McConaughey plays a koala named Buster Moon, who's obsessed with the theater, and he grows up loving the theater, and his dad works super hard, and he ends up like coming to own the theater. So now he's the current owner of the theater, but he's running out of money because he keeps releasing these stinker shows. And so he says, I'm going to put on a singing competition, and all I've got is like $1,000. So I'm going to make that the prize, and I'm just going to like make up the profit along the way, maybe through selling tickets or something. And so he has his assistant make these flyers, but his assistant is like a gecko with a glass eyeball, and her glass eyeball like shoots out of her head and accidentally hits the 0 key 2 more times. And so it goes from being $1,000 prize to $100,000 prize. And then as soon as she prints all of them out, she's standing next to a window, and whoops, a gust of wind just picks them all up and spreads the flyers throughout the town. And he's like, all right. But he doesn't know that it says $100,000. But he's like, all right, no problem. And so then all of these different animals that live in the city who just have, stuff going on in their lives, but they really like to sing, encounter these flyers, and they're all like, oh my God. Look at her. No, that's a scene in the movie. But so they all show up and they're like, I'm here to win the prize. There's a gorilla played by Taron Egerton, who is, I don't know, maybe my favorite storyline of the movie. He's played by Taron Egerton, and all of the gorillas have these Cockney accents, and it's great. So yeah, that's they show up to compete, and he picks some people out, and he says, you're going to be part of the show, and some people don't get to be a part of the show, and some people do. And there's like an elephant played by Tori Kelly who could really sing, but is too nervous to sing, so she kind of becomes his assistant. But then he's like, nah, she could definitely sing. So he wants her to sing at one point. Anyway, yeah, I mean, they practice, and then something happens, and like he's trying to get funding for the whole thing because he doesn't have $100,000. He's got $1,000. And in trying to do like a rehearsal to secure the funding for a potential donor, he accidentally reveals to everybody that he doesn't have $100,000, and they're like, oh my gosh, we were all lied to. And he also happened to set up this like really exquisite like squid light show requiring like a fish tank to put on this rehearsal, which ends up shattering and just destroying the whole theater. And he's like, oh no, I lost my dream. I'm so sorry, Dad. You fought so hard to let me have this theater, and I've let you down, and now I'm going to go do some car washing like you did in a Speedo. And this is all in the movie. And but nope, then all the animals kind of get together and they say, we love you, we love the show, we just want to sing. And so they rehearse, and they do an outdoor show, and they sing, and I don't know, they get the money at the end, or nobody gets the money. There's no money involved anymore. That's what it is. And then I think they rebuild the theater at the end of the movie. And that's it. That's the movie.
Yeah.
That's the end.
Yeah.
Honestly, movie's pretty fantastic.
Okay. I want to let everybody know, I have been wanting to assign you Sing for the longest time. Like, since we first started this podcast, it's like, I want to give you Sing. I want to give you Sing. It's so cute. And you were like, no, I hate Illumination. I don't want to watch it. It sucks. Blah, blah. You were hating so hard on this movie.
I was.
And we're sitting here watching it. You're tapping your little toesies. You're like laughing.
Wow, okay.
You were enjoying it.
Yeah, 'cause it's a fun movie. So, I hate on Illumination a lot. One, because I'm just not a Despicable Me fan. I think they should really just let it lie.
The kids love it.
Yeah. So, and that's the other thing. Every Illumination films are like specifically engineered for children. And the Super Mario Brothers movie, I waited my whole life to see this movie, and then it's just got like all this licensed music in it, and it's very just like made for kids. And granted, I can look back on that movie and say, yeah, that was the right choice. Do I wish they had done less licensed music in it? Yes, I still do. But like that's Illumination's thing. They make really good use of licensed music in their films. And Sing is all about singing licensed music. So this kind of seems like the pinnacle of the Illumination formula firing on all cylinders to produce a product that like really hits just exactly what their brand is made to deliver. And that's what I think makes it a successful film.
Yeah. It's not an annoying, like, because I feel like, any kind of musical animation I don't really like. But I don't know, something about this one is just like the song, like the songs they chose for the characters to sing are fantastic songs, and like they really go well with each character's personality and like their persona. Like my favorite character in the whole movie is this mouse named Mike, and he's this like Frank Sinatra-esque guy who like is in trouble with like a bear mob, and like it's just like, and he like sings like Frank Sinatra songs, and it's just like it's such a perfect, just like I don't know, it's such a perfect character and like the perfect music for the character. And so I don't know, I feel like I just like the way each character is kind of paired with a certain genre of music, and it's just cool.
All fair. Yeah, and this movie has like an all-star cast. Like the Frank Sinatra mouse was played by Seth MacFarlane, who does Family Guy and American Dad, and does most of the voices for those as well.
Yeah. I like read a fact that this was his first full-length animation like voiceover gig that wasn't his own company.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah, and I was like, that's cool.
I thought that was weird. I was like, he doesn't do not his own stuff.
He stepped outside of his house.
Yeah, exactly. He like did something for somebody else for a change.
Yeah.
Which is weird. Yeah, Reese Witherspoon's in it. Granted, her singing's not that great in the movie. Scarlett Johansson's in it.
Yeah.
Whole cast of people. Yeah, I mean, it's a very cute movie. And Matthew McConaughey's character, Buster Moon, at first I was like, all I can hear is Matthew McConaughey in like an ISO booth reading his lines. But then I really started to like the character a lot. So
yeah, I love his character. My favorite part of his character is after everyone finds out that he was lying and that they don't have 100,000, or it's after he finds out that the flyers had $100,000 on it and not 1,000, and his like assistant, the like old gecko, is like crying, and he's like, I'm not gonna fire you, like don't worry, it's okay, it was a mistake. And it's just like such a sweet tender moment. He's like, no, like you've been around literally forever, I'm not getting rid of you, we'll figure it out. And I'm like, what a heart. I'm like, the fact I'm like, oh, this koala.
I know. Yeah. And it's, I'm talking about the Illumination formula, but it's like, yeah, take this whole premise and then just make every character into an animal. It's like, that'll really get the kids going.
But I feel like, honestly, like you said, Illumination really leans heavily on like being for kids, and like it can be hard for adults to watch and like find something for them out of it. But I think this movie does a good job of finding like allowing adults to kind of resonate with the character, or like allowing any age to resonate with the character, because you have like Reese Witherspoon, who's like a mom, and she has like Witherspoon who's a mom and has like a gazillion kids and is like finally doing something for herself when like, and her husband doesn't really like help. Like she's like taking care of him every time he comes home. So he finally like learns like he's got to, at sometimes take responsibility and help out. And I feel like that's like a character that like, moms who are taking their kids to watch the movie might be able to relate to. Or you have like the porcupine who's Scarlett Johansson. She's like very teenage angsty. She's going through a breakup. She's like sad about it. So like, teenagers watching the movie can like resonate with that. And
there's something for everyone.
Exactly.
And then like when you watch the Mario Brothers movie, it's like, yeah, this is made for kids, but also a lot of us grew up playing Mario Brothers, so like the adults can be happy to see a feature-length Mario Brothers movie all together as one thing, which is great. I think I really just don't like Despicable Me like at all.
Mm-hmm. I liked the first one.
I've seen the first two, and I don't get it at all.
Mm-hmm.
It does not have, that is like specifically for children. That to me does not have like the inherent maybe this could appeal to adults too kind of vibe. So yeah, that granted, I would much rather take my kids to see Despicable Me than Trolls.
Yeah.
I
can't do Trolls.
I have it out for Trolls.
Okay, but you like that trailer. You like the little.
Well, I like.
Are you a narc?
Are you a narc? Yeah, because that was every time we saw an animated movie in a theater for a year, we saw that trailer.
Yeah. No, I have not seen a Trolls movie. I just know I can't do it.
Yeah, I'm so good off of that.
My like young niece, I don't know if she still does because she's a little older now, but like she loved Trolls, and like I totally understood why she would like Trolls. It made complete sense. But yeah,
I mean, my kid wanted to see Trolls. Yeah, all right, we'll go see Trolls.
If our kid wants to see anything, we're going.
Right.
Okay, let me hit you with some facts so we can start wrapping things up.
I'm just saying I'd be more excited to see like, Sonic, but whatever.
All right, well then I will take the kids to see Trolls.
I'll go see Trolls. I want to know.
All right, so how many songs do you think are featured in this movie?
33.
Final guess?
Yeah.
85.
Whoa!
85 hit songs from the 1940s onward is featured in this movie.
Wow. So it's really paying respect to the history of music.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So there is a scene where there are these like little like, are they red pandas? I think so. They're like red pandas.
They're red pandas.
And they're singing like little like Japanese songs.
Yeah,
and they're like
super
J-pop. Cute. Yeah. But like because they're, I guess the assumption is that they don't speak English, they only speak Japanese, and so when he tells them that they're cut, they like don't understand, and they keep coming and showing up to practice and like just starting to sing the songs.
It's a pretty great gag, honestly.
Yeah. And so at some point Buster Moon learns Japanese, and he's trying to, because at some point one of the acts that he had chosen got injured and like had to leave, so he needs to fill a spot. So he goes to the group and he speaks Japanese to tell them like, hey, you can be in the show now. But he like says something offensive and they leave. And so what he ends up saying.
Oh, excellent.
He says, your routine is horrible. Your footwork stinks like feet.
Oh, no. That's funny.
So they were offended and they left. Weirdly, and I don't know why, I didn't see anything as to why. And I also didn't write down the examples because it was just too much. But apparently there are like quite a bit of references to Back to the Future, like the Back to the Future franchise. And like there's like different scenes in the movie that are kind of like animated replicas of scenes from Back to the Future, which I thought was very weird. And
was this an IMDb trivia fact?
It was, but it popped up multiple times.
How well upvoted was it? Oh,
it was like
times?
Yeah, it popped up multiple times, and there was like hundreds of upvotes. Yeah,
that's weird.
It is really weird.
It's
like, why?
Any reason why?
I have no clue. I didn't dig deep enough to be like, is the writer or the director or something?
They must just be like big fans.
Yeah, I don't know. It was really weird.
That is weird.
I thought this was just a funny fact because of the way it was worded. But this movie beat My Big Fat Greek Wedding as the highest grossing film to never hit #1 at the US box office.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? Like, highest grossing to never hit #1.
That's crazy. Well, how much money did it make?
Let's see. Fill in the space.
I mean, that kind of makes sense because it's, I don't know, animated movies don't tend to, like, if I imagine it, animated movies tend to release kind of like the same weekend as like a big action movie or something.
Yeah.
So, you know, the parents can go see the big action movie and the kids can go see the animated movie. So that does make a ton of sense to me. Like, this movie probably had legs and it lasted for a long time, but it just kind of kept
that
like,
makes sense.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was probably like, I don't know, The Expendables 2 came out the same weekend or something.
Yeah. Okay. So the budget was $75 million. How much do you think it grossed? Well, do you want opening weekend numbers or gross?
Gross.
Okay. How much do you think gross it made?
435 million.
No. So gross US and Canada, it made 270 million. 270.5 million.
Okay. What
Gross worldwide, it made 634 million.
Whoa. This movie did gangbusters overseas. What the heck? Okay.
Yep. So yeah, so I made a decent amount.
Yeah.
So last question.
What a profitable film.
Yeah.
And this is why they keep making these.
This is why they made a second
Illumination
one.
movies.
Yeah. I feel like I've seen the second one. I just don't remember it. But maybe I didn't watch it. I don't know.
I don't think you've seen it.
I don't think I have. I don't know. Anyways, what was your favorite performance of the movie?
Definitely Johnny the gorilla singing
I'm still standing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that and
Taron Egerton singing Elton John before he played Elton John in Rocket Man.
Yeah. That I like that one. That's the catchiest one to me. And then I love Mike's I'll do it my way.
I don't know. I mean, it was appropriate that he would sing that song.
Yeah.
But then
it was like him swinging on the microphone.
The swinging on the microphone was fun, but his singing was heavily impacted by the swinging on the microphone.
That's true. I mean, he was about to get 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like those two too. Tori Kelly's at the end of the movies is pretty good too. I forget the song she sung.
So yeah, her performance was good. While we were watching the movie, you were like, "Oh, it's Tori Kelly," and I'm like, "I must know who that is," and I just don't realize I know who that is. And I checked before we recorded, and I have no idea who that is.
Who do you think I was referring to?
I don't know, but not her. I didn't know who you were talking about. I was like, oh, this must just be some singer that, like, yeah, they sit in the back of my mind. If I saw their picture, I'd be like, oh, yeah, her. And then I saw her picture and was like, nothing. I got nothing. I don't know who the heck that is.
I think that's fair. And you know what's crazy? Like, Tori Kelly has a beautiful, beautiful, gorgeous voice. But I feel like she is one of those people who, like, no one really, like, is a follower of Tori Kelly. Like, no one's like, I don't know. I don't know anybody who's like, oh, one of my favorite artists is like Tori Kelly. You know, she kind of sits in the background, and I don't know why, because she does have a gorgeous voice.
She does.
She has a very like soulful voice, and I really love it. But like, yeah, I don't know any Tori Kelly song. I mean, I probably do if I heard it and you saw like, this is Tori Kelly, but I couldn't name any Tori Kelly songs, even though I do love her voice. I don't know what it is about her. She kind of gets lost among everyone else.
I mean, Tori Kelly is a good stage name, but it's also like a forgettable stage name.
Yeah, and I feel like I mean, I hate to say this about Tori Kelly. I'm sorry, girl.
It's indistinct.
I love you. But I do feel like she has like a personality too. Like, is kind of disappears, because I feel like all those singers now have very distinct like characteristics about them that make them stand out.
Oh, and she's a little,
and she kind of just like
vanilla.
Yeah, she's kind of just like someone you would like meet in your life, you know, and there's not something very like distinct about her.
It's like buying a Josh Groban album, you know.
Who the heck is that?
Michael Bublé. How about that?
All right, Michael Bublé Christmas, phenomenal.
See, but that's what I'm saying. Like, you'll listen to Michael Bublé Christmas.
Oh yeah, I won't ever listen to him anymore.
How many Michael Bublé albums have you heard?
It's like Colby Calais. Remember her?
No.
Oh man, Colby Calais, what a throwback! You know the song Bubbly?
That sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Michael Bublé, Colby Calais, Tori Kelly.
I gotta go check Tori Kelly's like Spotify page just to see what's in there.
Yeah.
It's like Robin Thicke, you know. Ugh. Like he does one hit song, and now they're putting him on Holiday Lego Masters. I mean, come on.
Well, that hit song was so controversial. I can't say that
controversial.
Word today. Controversial.
Yeah, I don't. Robin Thicke is like an entity I do not understand.
Don't understand Robin Thicke.
I really don't.
That's fair. I don't either. He's
like Scott from the Kardashians, kind of famous. You know what I mean? Like Pharrell, like it's like Pharrell made a good song and Robin Thicke was on it. Now we all know who Robin Thicke is, and it's very like Scott from the Kardashians. Kind of career move. Yeah.
Scott. I'm dead. I used to love Scott so much, and he annoys me so much now. I'm like, find something other than the Kardashians.
Yeah. And anyway,
that's all I have for you.
Excellent. All right, well, let's move on to assignments.
Yeah. Do you want to go first? I'll go first.
Well, we already decided on a theme for this episode.
I know, but I want to say it.
Oh, okay.
All right. So because we saw Maxine, a piece of that movie that's kind of prominent throughout the movie is, and because it is set in the 80s in California, is The Night Stalker. And I have been just like waiting for a moment to give you the documentary about The Night Stalker, because it is like the scariest.
Famous serial killer.
Yes, famous serial killer. And like that is probably one of the scariest serial killer documentaries I've ever watched. And so that's what I'm giving you, and I'm very excited to have you watch it.
What's it called?
It's called, oh my gosh, I had it pulled up because it was like a really long name. I think it's called The Night Stalker, The Hunt for a Serial Killer, and it's on Netflix.
Gotcha.
It's 4 episodes.
What year was it released?
2021.
Okay.
Yep. And I watched it, and I, at the time, was living alone in LA. And was terrified. I was scared for my freaking life.
Yeah, that sucks.
I could not sleep. I was like, somebody please come get me.
All right. Well, in keeping with the theme of serial killers, I am going to give you not a docu-series, but a feature film about a serial killer in California, not in LA, but in San Francisco. Mm-hmm. We got NorCal and SoCal.
Well, Night Stalker was kind of everywhere.
Okay, well, maybe mine was too. I am giving you Zodiac.
I've always heard about it, but never seen it or learned about it.
This is a David Fincher film.
So this is a fictional film based on a true story?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
just about
correct. About the investigation of the Zodiac killer.
Ooh, I'm excited. We're getting a little spooky up in here.
It's a really good movie. Do you know who's in it?
No.
Robert Downey Jr., Mark Ruffalo, the Science Bros, and Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh, you know it's gonna be scary when Jake Gyllenhaal's in it.
I'm pretty sure he's in it. Yeah, I think he's in it.
Got you.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Well, I'm very excited. We're doing a little pre-spooky season spooky swap.
Yep. A
little taste for what's to come in October.
For episode 99. That's gonna be.
That feels spooky.
Yeah.
99.
That's part of the fun. You got to pick something good for episode 100.
Oh goodness.
I've already got mine picked out.
Wow.
I've had mine picked out for months.
Oh my gosh. I feel like my list is looking a little whack. So I need to like reconvene.
Yeah, you got to pick something good, and you got to have a meaningful reason for why you are picking it. And yeah. It doesn't have to be like episode 100 specific. The movie I'm going to pick for episode 100 is like, yeah, it's a classic film by a classic director. It also takes place on like the hottest day of the summer in the movie that it
Is it Do the Right Thing?
No, it's not Do the Right Thing.
I've already seen it.
As soon as I said that, I was like, she's gonna think I said I'm doing it's not doing the right. It's not Do the Right Thing.
Doing the Right Thing.
I know. It's not Do the Right Thing. But like there's it's a classic film, classic director on a hot day, great summer movie, and I know you'll enjoy it. But anyway, we will talk about that next time.
Gotcha.
All right, so for next week we have
The Night Stalker, The Hunt for a Serial Killer,
and Zodiac.
Woo.
Look forward to that, and we'll see you next time. Happy to be back, and yeah, bye.
Bye. Be safe out there, y'all. Spooky.
Okay.